I start?
Yes, sir.
Great. Welcome everybody to today's meeting of the Health, Education, Neighborhoods, Parks, Arts, and Rivers Committee. It is just after 1 p.m. and this meeting is called to order. I'd like to note that the audio for this meeting is broadcast live on the internet at www.lacity.org/government/follow meetings/council-committee-meetings. The live audio can also be heard on at 213-621-2489, which is CITY, 310-471-2489, 310-547-2489, or 818-904-9450. Members of the public who would like to offer a public comment on any of the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-015-2287, then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. Again, the meeting ID number is 161-015-2287. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll, please?
Certainly, sir. Councilmember David Drew.
Present.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell.
Present.
Councilmember Curran Price. You have 2 members, sir. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Colleagues, at this point, I would like to open up for public comment and remind those who have called in for public comment to please state your name and the items you would like to speak on when you are prompted to do so. So, Andrew, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
This is Tom Riley, and I want to speak about the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council funding for Vic.
Tom, I don't believe that is on the agenda, so I can give you 1 minute for public comment.
Oh, I think Linda Gravani was going to go first. But in any case, what is the concern we have is we wanted to give $4,000 to Vic Valley and the Community Council for some of their programs taking care of the elderly. And for some reason, we were turned down. We had done it in the years past, but for some reason, we were told that we couldn't do it this year, that it wasn't legal. Yet everything that we have seen in the state rules and city rules is that it's legal. And the reason they thought it wasn't legal is because I sit on the board at Valley Inner Council as well as the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. However, I was recused from the meeting when they decided to send the grant to Vic.
Thank you.
1 second, Andrew. Which neighborhood council was the caller calling from?
Lake Balboa.
Lake Balboa. We'll make sure Department of Neighborhood Empowerment reaches out to Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council for clarification. Go ahead, Andrew.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Huey Fields, and I wanted to call in support of the motion that is before you today in regards to implementing the mandatory diversity, equity, and inclusion training and anti-bias training for members of the LA Neighborhood Council.
Great, you have 1 minute. You may begin.
Thank you. back in July 14th, as I regularly attend the Mar Vista council meetings, I watched a woman of color named Andrea Umbriz be verbally attacked by the vice chair, Stacey Scher. There was no resolution from the chair. She was muted for literally saying she wanted to be on one of the committees, and was basically told in front of her entire body of counsel that she was not qualified. Not only was this completely, I believe, racially motivated by the vice chair, but she was basically told that she was too young, she was inexperienced and uneducated, and then proceeded to flip her off with her middle finger on a Zoom in front of everybody. If we do not put protections in place, this kind of behavior will be able to continue on other councils. The chair at that time also muted Andrea when she tried to respond and defend herself. Therefore, not only silencing her, but the 43% of people of color
Thank you
who
for
live
your
in Mar
comment.
Vista. Thank you.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Yes, hello. I'm Cara Robin. I'm president of the West LA Democratic Club and wish to speak on item number 10, which is the motion proposed by Councilmember Bonin and seconded by Councilmember Koretz. It's file
Thank you.
number 2009. Yeah.
Thank you. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Thank you. We are in such strong support of this motion, which would require diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anti-bias training and racial equity action plans for neighborhood councils. I've attended so many neighborhood council meetings in various areas, and I'm often shocked at the language and lack of decorum in some of these heated meetings. And there's definitely a need for sensitivity training as well. And with everything that's going on around the country now, I feel that for neighborhood councils to take practical steps towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, it would really change the flavor and feeling of these meetings around town and help with all of these issues. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm strongly in support of this motion.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Claire, and I'm a resident of LA looking to speak on item 10 and general public comment.
Great. You have 1 minute for item 10 and 1 minute for general public comment.
Okay, hi. I just strongly support item 10 again, like the woman prior to me just said. The LA City Council filed 20-0990 to require diversity, equity, and inclusion and or anti-bias training and racial equity action plans for neighborhood councils in Los Angeles. We need to respect our diversity in this community, and especially like what is going on in the rest of the world, these perspectives need to be heard. And especially with our government leaders and even local leaders at this level, we need to promote equity and inclusion. So this motion is going to help do that with these local community leaders and help towards action steps to build community equity. So I strongly support item 10, and that's all I need to say. And I urge you to make the motion to urge your A vote. Thank you.
You can begin your general public comment.
That's actually all I needed to say. Sorry,
Okay,
thank you.
great. Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, moderator. I'd like to make public comment on item number 10 and also general public comment.
You have 1 minute for item 10 and 1 minute for general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Andrews, and I am currently a member of a neighborhood council. We call ours a community council. I strongly support item number 10 and really applaud Councilman Bonin's leadership and also the second by Councilmember Koretz. which would require diversity, equity, and inclusion training and/or anti-bias training, as well as racial equity action plans, similar to the executive order that was released by Mayor Garcetti a few months ago. We're certainly in a time that we found ourselves being very aware of some of the inequities in our systems and within our institutions. And I do believe that training as well as equity action planning is a proactive step in the right direction to ensure that issues of concern from community about inclusion and other inequities are addressed, and that these neighborhood council leaders are equipped with the tools that they need to be much more informed in the decision making that they lead within their community. Granted, neighborhood councils are a volunteer body. They are, however, are representatives of our community, and in fact, many of them are elected, including myself. I do think it's a responsibility that neighborhood council leaders lead all of their work through a lens of equity and inclusion, and I think this motion is the right step in that direction to ensure that they actually do have the tools needed to prepare them for the work that they need to do to be fully representative and fully inclusive of our constituencies across our different districts. I know that Chairman Rue has been an active champion, and thank you so much for your leadership on this work, as well as Councilmember O'Farrell. So I want to thank you for your consideration. I urge you to strongly vote and support this motion, and also continue to explore other ways how both the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment
Thank you for your
generally
comments.
empower our way.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Linda Gravani on public comment, please.
Great. You have 1 minute for public comment. You may begin.
I am Linda Gravani, president of the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. I'm also on the executive committee of the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. I'm here today representing Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. The issue is that city funding and city attorney Elise Rudin have 4 times denied Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council's purposes grant to Valley Intercommunity Council, also known as VIC. One of our board members is also on the board of VIC. Ms. Rudin feels that we're in violation of ethics rules and simply states it's a moot point, no further discussion needed. Yet California law identifies exceptions, as does the City of Los Angeles ethics training. Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council is not in violation of ethics laws. We've hit a brick wall. I have forwarded a letter detailing the issues to each of you on this committee, as well as City Attorney Mike Fuhrer asking for help. To date, no response to my request. I do expect assistance in getting this stalemate resolved for all neighborhood councils. Dunn is not in control of Elise Rudin's
Thank you for your
stating
comments.
that we're in violation. Thank you.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Thank you. My name is Dave Beauvais. I'm president of Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council. I wish to speak on item 10 on behalf of our neighborhood council.
Great. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Thank you. Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council strongly supports this training. We feel it's an important step forward in assuring equity and inclusion of all races, creeds, colors, and religious beliefs. We already took a position of support at our August meeting. We'll be submitting a community impact statement in the next few days to the council file. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Oh, yes. My name is Rachel Rose Lucky. I'm the president of the Rampart Village Neighborhood Council. I'm using my title for identification purposes only, as we have not taken a position on this. I'm speaking on item 10 and general public comment.
You have 1 minute for item 10 and 1 minute for general public comment. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm personally in support of item 10. Yes, we definitely need mandatory training in diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-bias. But in particular, as the first transgender woman to become president of a neighborhood council, I was referred to by the use of the word "it," which in the transgender community is a slur, by a neighborhood council board member who is not on my neighborhood council. And it just really goes to show that it's very clear that alongside of all of the other, diversity issues that have been, being talked about, and the civil unrest and all of that, alongside of that, I believe that there needs to be robust LGBTQ training as well, anti-bias and inclusion and equity and diversity training, specifically on the issue of LGBTQ. I would hope that as this motion goes forward and as reports come back from the individual city agencies, that you would ensure that the LGBTQ training would be as robust alongside of racism, religion, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we have not been able to take a position on this, but I personally support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
This is Bailey. I'm speaking on general public comment.
Great. You have 1 minute for general public comment. You may begin.
And yes,
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said.
Speaker, you're cutting in and out. If you can say it one more time.
General public comment and item 5, item 6, and item 10.
You have 2 minutes for your items and 1 minute for your general public comment. You may begin.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Glenn Bailey. I'm president of Northridge East Neighborhood Council, speaking as an individual. I'm also a board member of another council. In terms of general comment, if neighborhood councils required to speak at the meeting, on out of town if they could do that virtually. So I do object to that. Secondly, neighborhood councils provide toll-free numbers for their stakeholders to be able to call. So if they're from home and they don't have unlimited long-distance numbers, to call up to San Jose, and the number is, we provide that off. With regards to items 5 and 6, Board of Neighborhood Commissioner Atkinson and Regalado have been very diligent and attentive commissioners during their tenure. They have listened to private points of view, and I think they've done an excellent job listening to and trying to accommodate those points of view from a very diverse city and 99 different neighborhood councils, and I do support their reappointment to the commission. With regards to item number 10, I do support this, but I'd want to make a few comments. First of all, there's nothing in this motion regarding implicit bias training. And after hearing from a number of folks with different backgrounds than I have, I think that that's very important and should be included, implicit bias training in addition to the other trainings. The neighborhood councils should be, board should have the same background and training that is being required now of the city employees in this area. So I hope that you'll model that there. And the other thing that I wanted to comment on was that the list of all the different departments that are going to be consulted in this effort, none of them include referencing communication to the neighborhood councils themselves, the Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. So you're leaving out the people who are most affected by this in the communication and in the report back. I hope this committee will include the the neighborhood council themselves, the leadership, the alliances, as part of that dialogue and not exclude to that. And then lastly, the neighborhood councils, just like the city council, we have to deal with difficult public stakeholders in public comment. And some folks do a better job of that than others in terms of how they respond to profanity and some of the other hateful items that are set under the First Amendment.
Thank you
I do think that this training will help in that effort. Thank you.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Hernandez. I am representing HOPE in support of item number 10.
You have 1 minute for item 10. You may begin.
Thank you. HOPE stands for Hispanos Organized for Political Equality. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization committed to ensuring the political and economic parity for Latinas through leadership, advocacy, and education. We are based in Los Angeles, and as many know, Latinos comprise of the majority of Los Angeles residents, with Latinas being over 50.7% of that number. We are calling in strong support of item number 10, diversity, equity, and inclusion training. We feel that diversity is a strength, and it will really equip and support public servants and leaders like you all to be best informed to support and represent Los Angeles community and be reflective of their values. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Mr. Dakota, on item 5, 6, 10, and on general public comment,
You have
Boyle
2 minutes for
Heights
your items
Representative
and 1 minute for your general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you, asshole. Now that I have your attention, in the past years, during this COVID crisis and epidemic, our neighborhood has been suppressed by the encroachment of why faggots in our community cannot be heard. Saying things like Mr. Bailey Beagle Bailey said, people need to be educated on First Amendment, is that why fucking niggers use name calling to criticize those who are fucking up our neighborhoods. So you say there's a purpose behind that. And then on item number 10, assholes. Did I say 10 earlier? Yeah. Okay. So, asshole. Item 10 regarding LGBT queers not getting the same attention as all the other fucking faggots of Los Angeles. Some get bigger dicks than others, while others get pussy like Jose Weezer. He knows how to play the game. Pay to play. So in our community of CD14, there's no hope. There is no future. You know, fuck you. Give me my general public comment now, asshole. Now, we, the North Dakota Indians, in our reservation under Crazy H Horse, stand by our belief that our community is invited to a terrorist attack by this commission or committee of assholes that all look at each other wondering why the fuck I get to say these things during a critical time of criticizing jackasses who don't do shit in our community. So now we got corruption, now we got pay to play, and now we got a bunch of dick-sucking, cock-sucking, wetback motherfuckers like you listening to my public comment for the record. 42 U.S.C. 1983, fuck yeah. And if the FBI is listening, take these niggers down now. But better stretch it out. I'd like to see Jose Weezer cry.
Your time is up. Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
My name is Elena Ong. I rise to support on item number 10.
You have 1 minute for your item. You may begin.
My name is Elena Ong. I'm the past president of the LA Women's Appointment Collaboration, the past first vice chair of the California Commission for Women, a past core executive fellow, and the co-editor of Asian American Pacific Islanders 2040. Over the course of my lifetime, I've advanced solutions to ensure inclusion, diversity, and equity, and I find it unconscionable that a member of one of the neighborhood councils would display such an act of incivility in response to a discussion on inclusion and equity. So I rise today in support and advance civil discourse. I rise to support civil rights and to prevent gender bias and
No, I cannot hear them. Should I go out and go back in?
Yeah, give it a few more seconds, and if it's...
Yeah, it seems like this is moving, so.
We have even included the words Black Lives Matter in large type in a newsletter that we sent out. What I'm opposed to is the word mandatory. I've always been opposed to mandatory training on the part of the city telling me as an elected official that I am supposed to get in line and somehow deal with what will turn out to be inadequate and poorly thought out training. Look, we're talking about Dunn. They are not teachers. They have a very poor record of creating training of any sort. I have no problem whatsoever with the Dunn representatives coming to our meeting, either online or when we get back to having them in person.
Thank you for your comments.
And talking.
Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
I'd like to speak on items 4, 5, and 10.
You have 2 minutes for your items. You may begin.
Won't need that much. My name is Lanella Enix. I am the president of the EC Southwest Neighborhood Council. As an individual, I am in favor of the reappointment of Mr. Tufarai Bang to the Board of Recreation and Park Commissioners. He has been very available to the community and very active. So again, I am in favor of his reappointment for very similar reasons. Item number 5, Joy Atkinson, I am as well in favor of her reappointment. And in terms of item 10, I won't repeat everything that's been said, but I am in favor of mandatory training on diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-bias. And I would also like to, the last caller spoke to Dunn's proven inability to provide training that is useful in certain areas. I would hope that the committee would keep that in mind and pursue professionals in that area that may be able to provide workshops that are impactful. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Good afternoon. My name is Cyrus Mason. I would like to speak on items 5 and item 10.
You have 2 minutes for your items. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Cyrus Mason. I am the president of the North Area Neighborhood Development Council, and I am also chair of the South Los Angeles Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. But today I am speaking as an individual. I support the reappointment of Joy Atkinson to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners as a representative for South Los Angeles. I also support item 10, Council File 20-0990. The neighborhood council system should be empowering and rewarding. It should not be divisive. It should not be caustic, and it should not be hostile. I would like to see this training take place. I would like to see it take place with consequences for those boards who are non-compliant. This should just not be another meaningless mandatory requirements for us with no consequences for those who do not participate. We have plenty of that on our plate as it is. And to echo the comments of others, those providing this training should be diverse. They should reflect the diversity of the city, and otherwise it's ineffective training. And that concludes my comment.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Number 10.
You have 1 minute for your item. You may begin.
This is Robin Greenberg. I'm president of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. I'd like to commend our council leaders for directing us in the right place to go at this time. I just wish that some of the training that we already have, such as code of conduct training, could incorporate this anti-bias training. We do have a lot of ethics training already. I would just like it to be all in one rather than adding more training on top of our current training. But I do believe in the concept of inclusion and equity and diversity, and I just like it to be taught to us at one time rather than multiple classes, multiple requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Hey, fucking asshole, you all need mental health training. Are you aware that you need mental
Mr.
health
Herman, you already
training?
spoke. Thank you. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on. Caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on. Mr. Chair, that takes care of public comment.
Thank you, Andrew. That was the last caller, so we can now close public comment. Mr. Clerk, CAO, or Mayor's Office, I believe
You are muted.
I just want to confirm that we have commissioners or nominated commissioners: May Lassiter, Daryl Smith, Raymond Regalado, Candace Cable, and Dr. Erica Jaquez. Are there any other nominees present? I think that's it, right? Great. So, colleagues, we do have various commission appointees with us here today who I want to afford them the opportunity to speak. So if there's no objections, I would like to recommend that we hold items 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and approve the balance on consent. Is that okay with you, Mr. Farrell?
No objections. Absolutely A-okay. Thank you.
Great. So, Mr. Clerk, would you please take a vote on the balance of the items?
Yes, sir. Councilmember David Rue.
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell Farrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Curran Price. You got 2 votes, sir, and it passes.
Is that my computer or your computer, Eric?
I think it's my speaker. Let me turn down the volume.
Can you be on mute, please? for a second. Okay, there we go. So, colleagues, like I said, we have several appointees, commission appointees with us today. Mr. CLA, if you could read in items 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, I'd like to take them all together. Yeah, unmute them. Mr. CLA, you got to unmute yourself. Mr. CLA, can't hear you. Do you want to sign out and then sign back in? Eric, do you want? Oh, wait, there it goes. Hold on for a sec.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of a Miss Maya Lester to the Board of Library Commissioners for the term ending June 30th, 2025. Item number 3, a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of a Mr. Daryl Smith to the Board of the Zoo Commissioners for the term ending June 30th, 2025. Item number 6, communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of a Mr. Raymond Regalado to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners for the term ending June 30th, 2025. Item number 7, a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of a Ms. Candace Cable to the Commission on Disability for the term ending June 30th, 2025. Item number 8, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of a Dr. Erica L. Huckles to the Disabled Access Appeals Commission for the term ending June 30th, 2025. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So first off, I do want to thank each and every one of you for being with us today and congratulate you on your appointment or reappointment. And, we are going to be taking these items together, but I do want to go in chronological order and allow each one of you to talk about your experiences, the work that you've done, either as a commissioner or outside the city, and what you hope to accomplish in your appointed role. And Mr. O'Farrell, if it's okay with you, I'd like to hold off any questions till the end.
Absolutely.
Great. So I'd like to start with our first appointee, May Lassiter. The floor is yours. May?
Hi, it's Mai.
Apologize.
No problem. So I serve on the Library Commission. We've had a lot of successes over the last 5 years that I've been on the board. Also a great deal of challenges, but with John Zabo as the city librarian and a wonderful staff, we've been able to rise to the occasion wherever possible. I think one of my biggest challenges, is dealing with city bureaucracy, which I find extremely frustrating. And the second is that the library has a fairly large budget, and I feel like it has just amazing programs and wonderful, it's a wonderful resource for Angelenos, but the communication about what we do is I find it not as, all of the resources and everything we do are not as well known throughout the community. And I think that that's been a challenge. But over the COVID months, I helped the library and the mayor in partnership with the domestic violence campaign and got funding for that, which ended up being one of the largest in the country, and it was duplicated in other cities, and the library played a great role in that. So, I don't know. That's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Lassiter. Very much appreciate that. And yes, as a former library commissioner myself for the county, libraries are so very important. And thank you for your willingness to serve. I'm going to move on to Mr. Daryl Smith. Daryl?
Good afternoon.
One second, Daryl. One second, Daryl. Okay, there you go. Daryl, go ahead.
Good afternoon. It's been a pleasure to have the opportunity to be involved with the zoo. My background has been in marketing, things like that. My love has been a passion for
my district.
Can you hear?
Bruce talking over.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. My passion has been for education, for youth, from everything from a Special Olympics coach to currently one of the directors for the LACCD Foundation. And it's been a wonderful experience to be involved with the zoo over the last approximately a year. Seeing the importance of the zoo to the city of Los Angeles and having an opportunity to share some of my ideas and partner with others on outreach to a variety of the communities, to communities of color and communities of need. Councilmember Rue, you may recall I sent you information on one of my ideas, and I won't go through the details, but it's a way to reach to youth that might be hospitalized and may never have the opportunity to experience it. We're talking about virtual reality and a lot of things, but these are things in the future, but things that we're working on right now. One of the points that has been so amazing for me is the passion of the staff at the zoo. I've not come across a single person that did not love what they did and cared about the animals, cared about their partners, their fellow employees, and the guests. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I looking forward to continuing on this path. That's about
Thank
it.
you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And you are as passionate as the staff at the zoo. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm going to move along. Next, we have Mr. Raymond Regalado. Ray, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to express my thank you for this reappointment, or the opportunity to be reappointed to this to our Dunn Commission. It's really important, especially in the time today that we see ourselves in, where communities definitely are have a say and want to say in what's happening in our neighborhoods and our surrounding locations. Also, earlier we heard a few people speaking on an agenda item when they were talking about the importance of diversity training, implicit bias, and things like that. I think with my role with the Los Angeles County Human Relations Commission, that's what we do. That's what we find ourselves really starring in, in this type of conversation. So I really look forward to being able to help position and maybe hopefully guide, how this could be done and done right. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to being reappointed, and this is the time when community and civic engagement really counts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you, Commissioner, for these are all of these jobs are goes unrecognized, and thank you for all of your efforts on all the reforms that we did, having all those meetings. Very much appreciated, and thank you for your willingness to serve again, despite all of that. Next, we're going to move on to Ms. Candace Cable, who is being appointed to the Commission on Disability. Candace?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Hi, Mitch. Mitch and I met during the bid to bring the Olympic and Paralympic Games to Los Angeles. I was on that bid, so saying a big hi. I was really excited to see you there. I I'm I'm really honored to have been nominated for this position on the commission. I've never been on a commission before for this city. I'm a native Angelino, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I grew up in Southern California here. At the age of 21, had a spinal cord injury in 1975, where I lost my environmental privilege that I was experiencing and discovered, the inequities that were not just physical, but attitudinal that existed around people with disabilities. And as I began my university training at Long Beach State, I got involved with sport. And that adapted sport turned into a 27-year career as a 9-time Paralympian. And during that time, it really helped me begin my advocacy work and really begin to bring the idea that disability is really a part of a human life experience that we're all going to have. And I began to develop programs around understanding disability. And I began to realize, too, that disability really is left out of most diversity, inclusion, and equity trainings. And it's a critical piece of it because, again, it's an experience that we're all going to have. And during my development of my trainings, I discovered that there's a lot of fear and a lot of misinformation around disability. And I wanted to try to demystify that, as well as dismantle a lot of the ableism, but also the attitudinal bias that exists. So I built those things into my training, and as I started to work in that area throughout my athletic career and then retiring in 2006, I decided that I wanted to advocate more on a global level. And so I began to get involved with the Convention on Rights for Persons with Disabilities out of the United Nations, as well as our most recent Sustainable Development Goals, which actually mention disabled people 11 times in the 17 goals, which is super exciting for people with disabilities because oftentimes we don't get mentioned in things. So I feel like my expertise in these kind of areas would be really helpful on this commission, but I also am a very, very good listener and a relationship builder. And I want to be able to bring forward the messages of equity and inclusion for all people, not just disabled people, but all people. And, and because my siblings that have disabilities that are Black or brown or part of the LGBT community, their experience is different from mine, being that I'm a Caucasian woman. And those voices are critical in the development and creation of an inclusive city. I live in downtown Los Angeles. I absolutely love my city so much, and I wheel all over the cities. And one of the things I really hope that comes forward is that we get some more love on our sidewalks, because I love not having to drive. I love to be able to go to all these different places. And I take this appointment very seriously, and I'm excited working with all the different fractions of it, and I look forward to meeting everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cable. And actually, we have the General Manager of the Department on Disability, Stephen Simon, who wanted to say a few words. Stephen?
Good afternoon, council members, Farrell and Rue. Speaking formally as the Executive Director of the City Department on Disability, as Candace pointed out, she's a 9-time Paralympian. She was the first woman to medal in both Summer and Winter Paralympic Games. She's an extraordinary ambassador for Los Angeles. And we met at the 2016 Rio Paralympics, and we both attended as part of what was then the LA 2024 delegation. We got to work on the bid together, and in that process, I learned not only is she this extraordinary gold medal athlete, but she's an extraordinary trainer on disability awareness and inclusion and equity. So she'd certainly make a great addition to our Commission on Disability. She could immediately assist on ensuring disability is addressed in the city's equity and inclusion efforts, like item 10 on your agenda. And so I just wanted to join you today to quickly say I strongly support her nomination. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. And last but not least, we have one more commissioner who is being reappointed, and that's Dr. Erica Jaquez, who is being appointed to the Disabled Access Appeals Commission. Dr. Jaquez?
Hi, Honorable Council Member David Rue, proud constituent of yours as well and longtime friend. And thank you also Honorable Council Member O'Farrell as well. Thank you for the opportunity. I am honored and humbled to be considered to serve on this amazing commission to represent disabled access on behalf of the mayor and the city of Los Angeles. To me, accessibility for everyone provides equality for everyone. I believe my background in housing at the state, local, and federal levels gives me that opportunity to see ways I can work with departments to make sure that the city is a little more accessible to our communities for all. I'm a strong advocate and believe in very much in what this commission has done. A little bit of my background, worked on a lot of redevelopment projects while working for LA County Supervisor Gloria Molina, making sure accessibility was our #1 priority, as well as later serving President Obama at Housing and Urban Development. I was an advocate and represented all special constituencies, focusing on the disabled community. So again, very excited to serve in this role. In addition, very personal note, my father is a disabled veteran, and so this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I really believe in the ability for having accessibility and making sure all Angelenos have that opportunity to serve and to access the properties that they so rightfully deserve. So with that, my hope is to continue to be an advocate for the disabled and work diligently to ensure accessibility and parity for everyone, and to continue to focus on the mayor's agenda as well as the commission's agenda to improve the quality of life for all. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Erica, and good seeing you.
See you.
And thank you to all of the commissioners and appointees for your willingness to serve. A lot of these jobs, these are all voluntary jobs, and many times your hard work and your extra time that you put into your commission appointments often goes unnoticed and unseen, but we know how much work you put into it. Our city of LA would not be able to function the way it does without your support, without your work. So I really want to say thank you so very much. And Councilmember O'Farrell, if you wanted to say any few words or have any questions for any of the members.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's the city just does not function without its volunteer corps. And all of you represent the cream of the crop for folks with experience in your own life to just give back and contribute. And so I want to express my thank you to each individual, and I want to name all of you. Mr. Jesse Marez, I want to thank Mai Lassiter, all the returning commissioners, Mr. Daryl Smith, Tafari Bain, Joy Atkinson, Raymond Regalado. Thank you so much for your service. We do deeply appreciate it, and your work and volunteerism is not going unnoticed at all. So the whole city appreciates what you do. Even folks who benefit and don't yet know how they benefit, on some mystic level, they appreciate your work as well. And then to Candace, my goodness, you are just, I don't know, you are the definition of inspiration. I can't say enough about you and how inspiring your story is to everyone. And congratulations on all of your successes in your athletic career. It's unrivaled. And so we're so happy to have you on a commission. I have a feeling once COVID eases, you're going to be signing autographs at every single commission hearing, and that's fine. I know you'll be happy to. And then Ms. Jaquez, thank you so much for stepping up. And you come from a great pedigree with Gloria Molina's office and your work as well. So we're just grateful for you both to step up and join the world of the outstanding volunteer corps that serve on our commissions to make our city better. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman O'Farrell. And with that, there's no further questions. So I would like to recommend that we approve these appointments and move them along to council. If that's okay with you, Mr. O'Farrell?
Absolutely.
Great. So, Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll for this item?
Sir,
for these items.
Certainly, sir. Councilmember David Rue.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell Farrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Karen Price. You have 2 ayes, sir. The item passes.
Great, thank you. So these items are approved, and congratulations again to all the appointees who are here with us today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Great. So we're going to move on to item number 9, and Mr. CLA Daryl, you're having some internet troubles today, but you want to read in item number 9?
Item number 9 is a motion, Cedillo O'Farrell, relative to the feasibility of implementing a pilot program in Council District 1 that uses the public library system to loan out Wi-Fi hotspots to help bridge the gap of internet access.
Thank you. So, Mr. O'Farrell, one of the many lessons that this pandemic has made abundantly clear is that the digital divide in Los Angeles and throughout the country is very real. And I know you know this very well, Mr. O'Farrell, because we've all been working on this issue so very hard. We may be very well be in a new reality for months to come. So ensuring that students, Angelinos who are telecommuting or working from home, and the many residents that have been impacted by COVID-19 are connected. Access to the internet has become a common household good, and yet it is necessary that, but it's also a necessity that is out of reach for so many others. So first, I want to thank Councilmember Cedillo for bringing this motion forward. I do, however, have a couple of questions and recommendations that I'll offer after we've had an opportunity to discuss this motion. And I also want to mention that we have Susan Broman, Assistant General Manager at the Library Department, and Edwin Rodarte, Senior Librarian for Emerging Technologies and Collections. So I am going to just lead it off with some questions. Susan, Edwin, are you guys online?
We sure are. Thanks.
Great. I understand that the library has a program that's already up and running to loan out Wi-Fi hotspots. Can you talk to us about this current program, what our stock of devices are, and what the demand for these devices have been, and how long we loan out these devices for?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about this. So we have a program called Tech2Go that provides internet access to families and households that lack these services via lendable hotspots. Our Tech2Go program also covers some other types of technology, including checking out iPads to families and other things that people can take home and use. They require a library card to check them out. We currently have 40 hotspots, and we've been doing this program for about a little over 2 years, I believe. There are 10 each at the Cahuenga Library, the Chinatown Library, the Mark Twain Library, and the Pacoima Branch Library. They're currently, they're checked out for 3 weeks at a time. And there have been a total of about 1,200, a little over 1,200 circulated hotspots. And on average, we use about 780 gigabytes of data per quarter. So they're really heavily used, very popular. We did a survey of users who checked out the hotspots, and 71% of them said that they had at least 2 people in their household using the MiFi. And in some cases, almost a quarter of them said that 4 or more people were connecting to it. And we found that over 60% of the participants said they do not have internet access at home. We selected those particular libraries based on data related to broadband accessibility, as well as local staff knowledge, talking to the patrons, and looking at data from the schools as well. So that's a little bit of a history about our hotspot devices.
Thank you, Susan. So obviously it's not in every library. Is there some sort of what's the condition for some libraries getting the Wi-Fi hotspots?
So, like I said, we kind of selected some pilot libraries, and while the pilot was definitely successful. We do the biggest barrier to expanding the program is sustainability of budget. This is a fairly expensive program. On average, the monthly service fee for each device is about $30. The devices themselves are are not terribly expensive. They're usually about $70, and the carriers have been very generous in working with us. That cost is often waived, and the replacement cost is often waived. So it's that monthly fee that does um, make it difficult to sustain and expand at scale. We have gotten some quotes as well for an annual costs from T-Mobile that will kind of help manage budget to expand it to additional sites in the coming fiscal year or the current fiscal year.
Thank you for that. So I'm assuming you try to target students in underserved communities. Is that a priority or?
Students and also just, other members of the community. Many times in our students obviously need connection, particularly right now, but we are also experiencing other people who need to be connected, people seeking jobs, people even just trying to make sure that they're being able to connect to the outside world. We find that that is a huge need in our communities. We have been offering throughout the pandemic and well before a robust a series of programs, events, and library materials that are available digitally. And we've known for a long, long time looking at use data of ebooks and downloadable audiobooks, streaming video. We can see based on where those are being used, where the need for additional broadband and additional access points has been. And we've been circulating ebooks from the libraries for well over 10 years at this point. So we have a lot of experience kind of looking at that and seeing where those gaps in service are.
Great. Because that is a big priority and concern for all of us in the city council. And, as a matter of fact, a few years ago, in collaboration with the ITA, my office, and I know many other offices did the same, provided, over 100 refurbished computers and hotspots to underserved students and families transitioning out of the permanent supportive housing. And that was such a popular program. So you talked about, some of your bottleneck areas. But are there any other gaps that might exist, and do you have any solutions to fill those gaps? And also, can you kind of give us an overview of some of the other programs that might exist, whether it's another city department, county, LAUSD, or anyone else that provides Wi-Fi, and see how we could piggyback on that?
Sure. We've been working, so we are very aware of LAUSD's partnerships with Verizon and taking a look at how we can help support students using that service. We have also worked in the past with ITA and are looking at some other options to, again, bring in Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi, I'm sorry, the hotspots to be able to check out. One of the ways that I look at the library, we look at the library is we check out things. We manage inventory. That's what we excel at. We are able to connect people with the access that they need, and so we're always looking for ways that we can leverage that in ways that will maybe help the community in a little bit differently than necessarily only checking out books or music. I know of a few other libraries in the vicinity that are that might be checking out MiFi's. There's not like an extensive program as far as I can tell. The other really the only barriers to this is kind of the ongoing cost of the monthly fees and seeking out additional funding to be able to expand the program. Because we have had it at a limited number of libraries to date, we have really focused our um, advertising of the program to those branches to make sure that they are serving the local community. But we know that there are people who are waiting on average, we have about 15 to 20 people per branch who are waiting on those devices to be returned so they can check those out. And then, of course, over the past 6 months, we have not had any of those returned or checked out. So the people who had them checked out when the libraries closed for the pandemic have been able to continue to use those throughout the time period.
That's great. So talking about funding, so how are you guys currently funding this program?
So we are currently funding this as part of our budget. It's part of our emerging technology budget package. It is, we are looking at, we did add some money to the budget for the current fiscal year to be able to expand the program. And so we're looking at expanding that by several, probably about 100 more devices. Again, we're always looking for ways to make sure that we can sustain this over the long term.
So how long is there a waiting list by any chance? And if there is, how long is it?
Yeah, there's always waiting lists for this. It's usually about 15 to 20 people on the waiting list for the devices. And again, we have in the past done these, checked these out for 3 weeks at a time. We're taking a look at changing that, seeing what works best, kind of reevaluating the way we're doing this right now.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. O'Farrell, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Broman. Just a couple of points that are interesting, and I'm glad that Mr. Cedillo is interested in doing this pilot project in his district. It'll be worthwhile to see kind of where the connects and disconnects are, right? I mean, we know that we have Verizon partnering with LAUSD, and they're guaranteeing 100% supply ability for all their students in the entire LAUSD system. However, there are still barriers sometimes, language barriers to even the ability for the families to understand that amenity is available to them. We also know that more and more people are dependent upon Wi-Fi and devices just to do their work remotely, beyond just students. So it'll be interesting to see where those sort of factors intersect. So you mentioned it's a budget issue, and so it seems to me that there's not really a need to get more funding, especially from LAUSD, if it's for LAUSD students. It seems like it's as much an education issue or outreach issue for LAUSD to make sure that the families are connected with the program that they're authorizing through Verizon. It's also worth mentioning that there are in the neighborhood of 50 learning centers that we are standing up here in the city and utilizing our rec centers across the district, all the districts. And computers and internet will be available for all. So perhaps with this pilot project for the first council district involving the library department, it might open a window of understanding that's beyond just students. And so I think that's an interesting component to this conversation because that need is out there too. Yeah. So that's really not a question, but just some thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Susan, did you want to comment?
You know, I think you're right on. What we've experienced is Students may have access through the Verizon plan, and we have been working as well with LAUSD to make sure that that our channels are helping to boost information about that and about students' accessibility. But for students who are not in LAUSD, or students who or families where they have multiple kids in school, often one MiFi or even two MiFis are not enough for a family who are entirely working and doing school from home, which is another gap that the library could help to fill.
That's a great point, because one shouldn't assume that students who go to another learning facility of some type, one shouldn't assume that they all have availability to Wi-Fi and hotspots. So yeah, I mean that's why this pilot project will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see who comes knocking. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. And actually, based on what you said, is exactly what I was thinking as well. And I don't want this to be just a pilot project for the first district, but this is something that's necessary. It's already an existing program, and I want to see how we could augment this program, as Susan indicated, because I think everyone is in unison and support here. So, what I'd like to do is approve the motion before us and make a few additional recommendations. Recommendation 1 is to instruct the library department to report back in 14 days on existing Wi-Fi hotspot learning programs serving LAUSD students, underserved communities, and those without connectivity. Second, I want to instruct the library department to report back in 14 days with an analysis of the stock of Wi-Fi devices needed to ensure the city is able to loan devices to all residents in need and any additional resources required. 3, I want to instruct the library department to report back in 14 days with recommendations for the extension of the duration of time that devices should be loaned out. And you talked about this, example, 3 months, to ensure residents and have continued access to the internet and any additional resources required. And lastly, I want to instruct the library department with the assistance of the CAO to report back in 14 days on the feasibility of using the CARE Act funding to support the expansion of the library's Wi-Fi hotspot lending program during this COVID-19 pandemic. So if that's okay with you, Mr. O'Farrell, right?
Yeah, I think those recommendations are good, and maybe with one additional instruction to also report your findings to the office of Mr. Cedillo, since he's the mover of the motion for the pilot project.
Yes. The report back should be going to all colleagues. With that, I want to recommend that we approve this as amended. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Councilmember David Rue.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Karen Price. You have 2 aye votes, sir. The item is approved as amended.
Thank you, Eric. So this item is approved as amended. Now, do we have any additional business to take care of?
The desk is clear, sir.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. O'Farrell, and this meeting is adjourned.